Carmelo Anthony was named to his 10th All-Star game yesterday and coincidentally comes in place of Kevin Love, the player he's been mentioned in trade reports over the past month. So Love is out 6 weeks with a knee injury. Carmelo, what does this mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still an honor to be kind of named to the All-Star team to go out there and represent despite of everything that's been going on and surrounding us and surrounding me and surrounding kind of our organization, is to still go out there and represent not just the organization but New York City as a whole. It's still an honor for me to do that.
All right, Stephen A., I know Melo's your boy and the Knicks are your squad, but does Carmelo deserve to be an All-Star?
It's not that he doesn't deserve to be an All-Star, because Melo's an All-Star talent and he's All-Star caliber. It's not about that. It's about who does he deserve it more than. And I have to admit, he does not deserve it more than Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards. He just doesn't. The Washington Wizards are winning. They're like 33-21. They are 26-8 over their last 34 games. They have been playing better. And when you take that into consideration and you look at a Bradley Beal who's averaging 22.3 points, he's shooting 47% from the field, he's shooting 40% from three-point range, okay? He's shooting 81% from the free throw line. He's the second leading scorer on a Washington Wizards team that's been playing top 5 basketball in the league, okay, over the last 34 games. I think you take that into consideration. You consider his contribution to the success of the Washington Wizards, and you simply can't ignore it. And by the way, he's doing it only shooting 16 times a game. That's what I look at right now. Carmelo Anthony is an all-star talent. You know, I know he's a perennial all-star. And I get that. But when you consider the fact that the commissioner, Adam Silver, had to make a choice because of the injury to Kevin Love, I think Melo, being, you know, his history, being in the New York market, may have to some degree contributed to that. I don't believe it should have. I think something has to be said for success combined with the contribution you make towards success. And when you consider what Bradley Beal has done and the way the Washington Wizards has looked compared to how the New York Knicks have looked the other night, having lost 20 of their last 27 games. I mean, come on now. I can't ignore that, and I can't just shove that aside because of Carmelo Anthony's greatness. Bradley Beal has been very, very effective, on par with what we're seeing from Melo. And I think the fact that the Washington Wizards have obviously been significantly more productive than the New York Knicks, I think he deserved the nod ahead of Melo.
I can't believe what I'm hearing from Stephen A. Smith. I can't believe, after all, I started the season saying Carmelo Anthony's at best the 4th best guy at his position. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and then Carmelo Anthony. You were pushing back on that. I was telling you Carmelo Anthony may not be a top 15 player, definitely not a top 10 player. You thought I was crazy. And now when push comes to shove, because you can't say, oh, he's an all-star talent. He's basically an all-star, but he's not an all-star. The whole point of an all-star game, when you're making these selections, is you have to make a choice. Either he is or he isn't. If there's someone better than him or more deserving than him, that means that year he wasn't good enough to be an all-star because there are only so many spots on the roster, and he did not make the cut. That's what you're, like when everyone was going through Mount Rushmores a couple of years ago. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of all-time great Lakers? The whole point of that exercise is, wow, Wilt Chamberlain doesn't make Mount Rushmore for the Lakers? That's the point of an all-star team. These are the best of the best. Who made it? If you didn't make it, you weren't good enough. That means you're not an all-star player that year. That's Carmelo Anthony this year, according to you. I actually think Carmelo Anthony was the right choice. And I know, look, you mentioned perennial all-star, except for he made the team in 07-08. Then he was hurt 08-09. He played like 60-something games. And then he's been an all-star every year since, including this year. He's a perennial all-star, and he deserves it. He's that caliber player. Even though I think he's slightly overrated, you have to acknowledge his sustained excellence. He's a baller. And I understand the idea. Look, here's a young up-and-coming player. And if it's a choice between the two and it's close, maybe go with him. And he's on a winning team. If you look at the numbers, every number you cited for Beal, Carmelo's doing the same thing. And yes, Beal's on a winning team in a winning culture at the moment. Carmelo is suffering through the opposite on a miserable team. He's being undermined by the head of basketball operations at every turn, made to look bad in the most intense media market on planet Earth. And all he does is go out night after night and ball. And if it's close, I'll take the perennial all-star who's continuing to toil successfully through adversity. At least his game is. He can't do everything about the dysfunction of the team. And I'll take him over the up-and-coming guy who's having a nice season, who's, by the way, still has time to make all-star teams.
Well, first of all, I think all your arguments are sound, Max. I can't sit up there and just summarily dismiss it. I get where you're coming from, but my problem is this. Remember how awful the Knicks were a couple of years ago when All-Star festivities were at Madison Square Garden, and you know how awful they were, and because it was going to be in New York, Melo had an opportunity to represent the New York Knicks, even though they were absolutely atrocious. I'm tired of making this same argument. I believe that I stand by everything that I said. I think Carmelo Anthony is one of the top offensive players of our generation. I think he's a top 15 talent in the NBA right now, if not top 10. But that, to me, I'm tired of looking at that and ignoring the production or lack thereof of the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks stink. They've lost about 22, they've lost about 22 of their last 28 games. They are absolutely positively sorry. And when I take that into consideration, even though I have sympathy and I harness sympathy for Carmelo Anthony and what he has to deal with, I don't want to harbor it to the point where I ignore a heightened level of productivity on the part of a different team with a guy in Bradley Beal that has helped significantly along those lines. Otto Porter is a good player. He's growing. Martin Gortat is a decent player. Markieff Morris and others are doing their job. But my God, it's John Wall and Bradley Beal that are carrying this franchise. They've won 26 of their last 34 seed within the Eastern Conference. They are balling, and I'm tired of ignoring those things just because of Carmelo's greatness when the New York Knicks stink. At some point in time, I think we need to get to a point, Max, where we at least lean towards ignoring, even if it means ignoring the greatness of an individual player when a team stinks all the time. There needs to be something that requires you to actually win. Not doing it. That ain't Carmelo's fault, but in the end, he's been rewarded multiple times because of his greatness. But the Knicks stink, and I'm tired of that.
See, look, I think it kind of is Carmelo's fault. Carmelo could do more to make the team better, and that's why I think he's slightly overrated. Other than the defensive end, he hasn't always made his teammates better. That's a legitimate argument. In the case of this season, particularly with what's gone on at Madison Square Garden, if it's a close call, the way Carmelo has gone through this, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt and the respect that Silver's given him.
All right, that's got to be the last word there, guys.
Bradley's not better than Carmelo, but I do think he's more worthy of the All-Star this year because of their team success.
Now, that is the last word. So Max says Carmelo deserves an All-Star spot. Stephen A., not so much. What do you think at home? Go on Twitter, vote. Does Melo deserve